Another day, cranking away. Same place in terms of the injured guys, where we're at. Everybody's making progress. So just got another day without pads on today. So that's about all I got.
So none of the injured guys are going to be back?
No, the same guys that have been working, Slay and Sills, they'll be doing stuff. Everybody will be doing a little bit of something. Not everybody. Most guys will be doing a little bit of something where they're at in their rehab process, but that's where we're at.
Jeremiah Hall is a guy that was just waived.
Yeah.
I'm curious where you plan on going with that sort of fullback, H-back position. You're also pretty thin on numbers now at tight end.
Yeah, we have 4 of those guys. So all those guys, Jeremiah was actually in the tight end room. That's where, since I've coached tight ends, like James Devlin I talked about, he was with me when I was in the tight end room. Those guys can usually play both spots. So all those tight ends are cross-trained to do, whether it's fullback, H-back, tight end. We teach them all those spots.
You had before game today, so just curious, why do it before practice when we're short on bodies?
That's Joe and I let's get out there, do the player right. They were going to be released, so try to treat them the right way.
I'm kind of curious, do you sit down with the player and give them feedback as to why they're being released? Do you tell them to stay ready? I mean, how do you approach that decision?
Appreciate the question. I'll keep those confidential. You do it with a sense of empathy because, look, these players are working extremely hard. They've given everything they have in spring and summer camps, and it's the nature of the business we're in. And I've been on the other side of that too. It's not any fun. These guys care about what they're doing. They're giving everything you have. So obviously there's empathy for the player and for what they've tried to do. But you're as positive as you can be with giving someone news that they don't want to hear.
As a coordinator and assistant, you have had to do that in the past, right? Or no?
I was like the second wave. So the first wave is Joe and I sit down with the player. I was always the second wave after they heard the news. So it's a tough part of the job, just to be honest with you, as a people person and a person that respects what these guys go through. I mean, you guys know, but in the building, whether they're a little bit injured, they're hurt, the rehab, the training process, the meetings. I mean, it's you respect these guys, and in a couple weeks there'll be 1,000 players, whatnot, that aren't on a job, and I think if you're, these guys are pretty much the age of my kids, so I have a great deal of respect for the stuff that they do and empathy when things don't go exactly the way they want them to be, because that's real life.
Brian, why didn't Adoree go in 11 yesterday?
He'll be fine. He's good. We just gave him a little rest.
And what do you think? Why does Zion Gilbert impress you? Why did he get that opportunity?
He has a pretty good skill set. He's got good length, quickness. He's still learning. He's got a ways to go, but he's done a good job since he's been here. And again, you can see we were rolling in receivers. We're going to roll in a bunch of players still. He just, he was kind of the next guy up that we wanted to take a look at.
Brian, at the receiver position, there's a couple guys there where this organization has invested significant resources in, be it free agent dollars or draft picks. How do you balance playing time distribution to guys that the organization's invested a lot in compared to somebody like Colin, who's not a high draft pick, nor is he getting a lot of money, but his playing time's kind of forcing him into that discussion?
Yeah, I think Joe and I are on the same page that whoever performs the best is going to play. So whoever comes in and has the right habits, priorities, and then ultimately actions out there on the field, that's why you create competition. I understand the question, but we're gonna do everything we can do to give everybody opportunities to play, and however that sorts out, we still got 3 weeks or whatever it is left. Those are the guys that we feel best about playing.
Brian, as a follow-up, how do you feel about that position group overall halfway through August?
I think they're making progress, just like all the position groups are. Everybody's learning new things, but Mike's done a good job with these guys. They're going to continue to grow, continue to learn, and we'll try to make it as competitive as we can make it.
With a player like Kenny, he obviously has a proven track record in this league. How much does practice production, catching passes and live drills matter to you?
Well, everything matters. Everything matters
How
in
much
the
emphasis
evaluation.
maybe do you put on it is a better way to say it.
I think you put emphasis on everything. Practice. Ultimately, it's the games. Again, when you get into live action, but everything right now is a competition. So the people that are doing the best, and again, your best might be a little different than my best. He's improving, but all those guys are going to compete. I think we're going to try to make it as competitive as we can make it to put the best 11 out there on each play.
You hear about players who maybe they don't necessarily show up in practice, but something just switches on game days. Can you tell? Is there a way to tell, like, oh, this guy's just a gamer, or you just not really know till the regular season comes?
Yeah, I think we evaluate everything. There's practice, there's games, there's meetings. Everything is evaluated. There's games. Again, the receiver position in general, it's a position where you got to be mentally tough. I've coached it for a long time. And there's games where guys don't get a whole lot of play or a whole lot of touches. Not necessarily, they might be open, but maybe a read or something takes them to another guy. So you got to stay into it. You know, you could be out there 70 plays and get 5 targets to yourself. You know, some might get a little bit more, but that position is one that requires a great deal of mental toughness.
Brian, at the end of the game, Saquon was going crazy for Sandro.
Yeah.
And you have seen that kind of support here at practices as well. Can you talk about the importance of that camaraderie, that spirit, and that support from the players to each other?
Yeah, we're just trying to build as good a team chemistry as we can. That's important. It's important during the season. As you guys know, you've been through NFL seasons for a long time. There's a lot of things that don't go as planned, and you have to stay strong within your group, and you have to support one another, and you have to concentrate and focus on the things you can control. And I would just say with Saquon in general, he's been excellent since he's been here in the spring, picking up our stuff, and then into summer. His leadership has really been good. It's stood out in a strong way to me, as is his performance and the way he approaches on a day-to-day basis. He's been fantastic.
Brian, do you have is there a need, maybe a desire, or maybe even a curiosity to see what Tyrod can do with the first team at some point this summer?
Yeah, he'll get, you know, as we get going here in terms of the preseason games, you know, we'll talk about whatever we think is best. But, you know, I have full confidence in Daniel and full confidence in Tyrod and what his role is. Each day we sit there, we evaluate the guys, but, you know, will he get a few reps here or there? He might.
Brian, will that be, is that any reflection on Daniel? Or?
Absolutely not, no. I mean, I learned from a pretty good coach a while ago, you know, usually he doesn't tell those guys when he throws them in, because that's what the backup's job role is you have to go in a split second and not like, you know, you prepare like you're a starter, but, you know, fourth play of the game, something happens, you're in, you got to be ready to go. So, you know, I don't necessarily think we'll tell those guys when that'll happen.
There's been a lot of, obviously, scrutiny on the offense and Daniel and whatnot, and I know you don't read social media, likely, but there's a perception out there that your offense is struggling this summer. The flip side of that is, does that mean your defense has been playing very well this summer? How do you look at that? Is the defense for these guys, the system maybe a little bit easier to pick up for guys than what you're installing?
No, I look at it as a team always. You know, there's a lot of things we can do better in every area on our football team, starting with us as coaches all the way down to the players. So, again, we're just trying to build as good of a team as we can, team chemistry, try to get better every day, and, you know, take it day by day.
How do you see your defense developing so far this summer? With
some good, some not as good. Much like the other areas of the team, I think those guys are working hard. But there's a lot of things that we can clean up really in every area.
You mentioned the number of players who are going to be let go and kind of be out of work.
Yeah.
Because of that, are you a fan or a proponent of some of these other leagues that have kind of started to sprout up recently, whether it's the XFL or Spring League, where these guys that don't make it in the NFL now, they have another opportunity to play, develop a little bit, and then make another run?
I think it's great for players. Again, this is a tough industry. It's hard to make. And the more opportunities that players can have, wherever that may be, I'm all for it.
Brian,
Two more.
Not doing joint practice with the Bengals, was that logistics, or was that something you thought football-wise wouldn't benefit you, or why not?
This was just our first year. I think again, I've done it a lot of different ways, Dan. I've been part of a lot of different teams here the last, however many years. I just thought for our first year to make sure we're getting our installations right, we're doing the things we need to do. I thought that was in our best interest to do it this way.
Brian, whenever we ask you about the quarterbacks, obviously today is another example. It's Daniel and Tyrod.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously Davis is here. You are familiar with Davis. What does Davis bring to the table in terms of what you're trying to get out of him being here this summer?
Davis has done a really good job since he's been here. He knows the system. I think he operated the system well the other night in game action. He's done a really good job in his leadership role with really the entire team, but in general the skill players when he talks to those guys. And I think he's a good ear for Daniel and Tyrod, being in the system, being around me. He's been really good.
Do you look for ways to kind of stoke his competitive fire too? He's not necessarily playing for those.
Yeah, I think he's innately competitive. So when he's out there, he understands what he's trying to do, and he's a very competitive guy.
How helpful in the evaluation of the bottom of the roster is it to have that quarterback playing with the threes who knows the system rather than some rookie who's flailing around or something?
Yeah, no doubt. Anytime you can have a quarterback that can function in these games, I'd say that and really in the trenches is what you're looking to do, to give everybody a good chance and a fair evaluation. That's important.